Welcome to Americana. This short presentation and theme can be in the realm of American trivia, fun quizzes, pictures, stuff, miscellaneous, whatever we can come up that we think is interesting, and sometimes just plain fun. So today, I thought that we would do something called Where Did That Come From? And as we stroll into America's past, we're going to see some catchphrases and where did they come from and how did they come into our vocabulary. So try these out with me today. The whole 9 yards. American fighter planes in World War II had machine guns that were fed by a belt of cartridges. The average plane held belts that were 27 feet, 9 yards long. The pilot used up all his ammo. He was said to have given it the whole 9 yards. Buying the farm. During World War I, soldiers were given life insurance policies worth $5,000. This was about the price of an average farm. So, if you died, you bought the farm for your survivors. Ironclad contract. This came about from the ironclad ships of the Civil War. It meant something so strong it could not be broken. And of course, the Monitor and the Merrimack are the two leading ironclads. Passing the buck, and the buck stops here. Most men in the early West carried a jackknife made by the Buck Knife Company. When playing poker, it was common to place one of these buck knives in front of the dealer so that everyone knew who he was. When it was time for a new dealer, the deck of cards and the knife were given to the new dealer. If this person didn't want to deal, he would, quote, pass the buck, unquote, to the next player. If that player accepted them, then the buck stopped there. And there's a buck knife. Riffraff. The Mississippi River was the main way of traveling from north to south. Riverboats carried passengers and freight, but they were expensive, so most people used rafts. Everything had the right-of-way over rafts, which were considered cheap. The steering oar on the rafts was called a riff, and this transposed into riff-raff, meaning low class. Cobweb. The Old English word for spider was cob, and you can figure it out from there. Ship staterooms. Traveling by steamship was considered the height of comfort. Passenger cabins on the boats were not numbered. Instead, they were named after states. To this day, cabins on ships are called staterooms. Sleep tight. Early beds were made with a wooden frame. Ropes were tied across the frame in a crisscross pattern. A straw mattress was then put on top of the ropes. Over time, the ropes stretched, causing the bed to sag. The owner would then tighten the ropes to get a better night's sleep. Showboat. These were floating theaters built on a barge that was pushed by a steamboat. They played small towns along the Mississippi River. Unlike the boats shown in the movie Showboat, these did not have an engine. They were gaudy and attention-grabbing, which is why we say someone who's being the life of the party is showboating. Over a barrel. In the days before CPR, a drowning victim would be placed face down over a barrel, and the barrel would be rolled back and forth in an effort to empty the lungs of water. It was rarely effective. If you are over a barrel, you are in deep trouble. Barge in. Heavy freight was moved along the Mississippi in large barges pushed by steamboats. These were hard to control and would sometimes swing into piers or other boats. People would say they, quote, barged in, unquote. Hogwash. Steamboats carry both people and animals. Since pigs smelled so bad, they would be washed before being put on board. The mud and other filth that was washed off was considered useless. Hogwash. Barrels of oil. When the first oil wells were drilled, they had made no provision for storing the liquid, so they used water barrels. That is why to this day we speak of barrels of oil rather than gallons. And we conclude this presentation with hot off the press. As the paper goes through the rotary printing press, friction causes it to heat up. Therefore, if you grab the paper right off the press, it is hot. The expression means to get immediate information. And would like to thank you for visiting with us and spending this time on Americana. Hope you learned something that someday you can use on Jeopardy or some game show and make a lot of money, or just impress your friends. Thank you, and God bless America.